Hello, everyone. Today I want to talk about lowering your blood pressure. 6 easy things you can do today and help with your blood pressure naturally that actually has grounded in scientific evidence. And the reason I bring this up is I'm actually going to be hosting a hypertension summit in mid-March, and so I'll be sharing more details about that later. I will have interviewed, I believe, 37 experts. And so it's going to be really awesome. It was a lot of work, and it's really going to be wonderful to share that information with you. And it's titled Reversing Hypertension Naturally. But let's talk a little bit about blood pressure, because I think it kind of goes without saying that hypertension is kind of that thing that just kind of sneaks up on you. People don't necessarily have symptoms, although they might have blurry vision or a headache. Sometimes they just don't feel well, maybe some dizziness, and someone will measure blood pressure and it's elevated. But that doesn't just suddenly, that's not the first top of mind thing that you see. It's not like, blood sugars might be high because I'm urinating a lot and losing a lot of weight suddenly, or some other things that might indicate, for example, diabetes. But hypertension is actually the number one reason of death in the United States from the standpoint of chronic disease. It is a silent killer. It can make everything worse: diabetes, heart disease, kidney disease, so many things that we need to pay attention to. And really, in and of itself, it comes along with a lot of other chronic diseases. So, they're like a gang that like to hang out on the street corner together. But really just important that, that we understand it needs to be looked at. You should have your blood pressure checked regularly. You can buy a blood pressure cuff from Amazon for like $35. I like Omron. That's a good brand. And you'd want to get the one that measures over the upper arm. And when you're doing your blood pressure, you want to sit for about 5 minutes quietly, no talking. Try to be calm as well. People get really anxious sometimes when they measure blood pressure. But what you'll do is you'll sit, have your arm on the table about, if you can, a heart level or so, and measure. You have an automated blood pressure cuff. And what you're looking for is that the blood pressure is under 120 on top, under 80 on the bottom. If you wanted to, you could do 2 or 3 alternating arms and average those 3. That's fine too. But you really want to make sure that you haven't eaten in the previous half hour, or just, had a difficult conversation with someone, or emotionally pent up. You really want to be mindful of that. And if you're transitioning to, for example, a whole food plant-based diet and you're on blood pressure medications and or diabetic medications, really important that you're monitoring that very closely. And if you're seeing that your blood pressure is consistently under 120 and you're on blood pressure medications, or you're getting dizzy upon standing, or suddenly you don't have much energy, definitely need to talk to your doctor about that, because you may need blood pressure medication lowered. Now, I have had patients who have told me that some healthcare providers told them to eat more salty foods to keep the blood pressure up versus just stopping medications. And I've had others just actually last week tell me that some healthcare providers told them to eat more food because they were on insulin and they need to keep their blood sugars up. I'm like, well, how about we just stop or decrease the insulin? So I get sidetracked. But again, so really there's some interesting dietary things you can do that I don't think has been spoken to. You might have heard about these things, but I want to give you a little bit more in depth. Some of them might be surprising. So first of all, let's talk about potassium's role in blood pressure regulation. So really important that potassium is really crucial for high, healthy blood pressure levels. And what they do is they aid in what we call diuresis. And that's an increased urine output or production. And then thereby lowering the blood pressure. So it's really strong in the kidneys, what they call this distal tubule, convoluted tubule. So the kidneys are these all sorts of intricate little plumbing, and there's different parts of the plumbing that do different things. And in the distal convoluted tubule, there's a potassium sensor. And so high potassium intake leads to increased excretion of potassium in water, therefore reducing blood pressure. Now, whereas low potassium will cause fluid retention, right? And that can raise blood pressure. And then interestingly enough, high sodium intake can further complicate the potassium balance, and that also can cause more of an issue with retained fluid and high blood pressure. So, of course, we want to cut down our sodium, probably less than 1,500 milligrams per day, and then really try to increase those high potassium-rich foods. Another one we want to talk about is magnesium. And you can get all these in foods, like so really high potassium, magnesium rich foods. These are going to come from your plant foods, but I can talk about what foods are these here in a minute. But the magnesium is another one that's very interesting. So if you're having difficulty sleeping, muscle cramps at night, you might want to determine if you're eating enough magnesium. And so interesting with deficiencies in magnesium also leads to higher risk of diabetes. So you can actually see some improvement with insulin sensitivity with improving your magnesium status, either through supplementation or foods. Now, the way that magnesium benefits cardiovascular health is it regulates calcium concentrations, and then that promotes vascular relaxation and also improves your endothelial function, which, inside the cells or the arteries, there's this endothelial lining. And again, like I said, magnesium can help sleep, which in and of itself can help blood pressure, because if you're not getting good sleep, you don't get this what we call nocturnal dipping of the blood pressure. It can also help with migraines and help with premenstrual syndromes. So magnesium, potassium so far. And then this other thing, I have a fun story I'll get to here in just a sec, but I had a patient who I'd convinced several years ago to go on a plant-based diet. And she's like, well, I thought I had her convinced. She said, well, Dr. Marvis, that sounds all good and all, but I really love my dark chocolate. Can I have my dark chocolate every day? And I was like, sure. So she went on a whole food plant-based diet, but maintained her dark chocolate treat, which actually has some amazing health benefits. So when you think about high cocoa dark chocolate, and when it's really packed with bioactive compounds like flavanols and some other things which enhance the blood flow and insulin sensitivity. So you want to consume around 26 to 40 grams of dark chocolate with at least 75% cocoa. And so some cool things there. So yes, you can have your chocolate and eat it too. Anyway, I'm trying to be funny here. Taurine, right? So you have the taurine. This is an amino acid. It's a sulfur-containing amino acid that can reduce blood pressure. And what it does, it aids in the regulation of the mineral and water balance in the blood and cells. And that's how it helps with blood pressure levels. It also has very strong antioxidant properties, which can also help with keeping damage from the blood vessels. And then, of course, we have dietary nitrates from those green leafy veggies, things like beetroots and arugula and all those wonderful things. Nitrates are converted to nitric oxide in our body through an interesting pathway, but it vasodilates, right? So it's causing the arteries to vasodilate or get wider, which lowers your blood pressure, right? And then they also can enhance exercise performance, by the way, by reducing the oxygen cost of exercise. So that's always really interesting. And you could try this with about, I believe it was, I don't remember the exact amount of the beet juice, but upwards of like 4 to 8 ounces of beet juice about 2 hours prior to an endurance event can help with your performance. And then finally, garlic. Garlic is known as nature's antibiotic, but it can also help lower blood pressure, in particular people who already have hypertension. So it's not going to necessarily have a great effect on someone who doesn't have hypertension, which is great. But it also contributes to what we call vasodilation in blood flow. So those are the things, those 6 things. So we want to increase our potassium, magnesium, dark chocolate, taurine, dietary nitrates, of course, and garlic. So those are the things we want to focus in on. And like I said, I'll be posting and sharing about the Hypertension Summit, Reversing Hypertension Naturally Summit soon. This is going to be second week of March through that's the 3rd week. Yes, hibiscus tea, someone's mentioning, absolutely. But I want to just kind of highlight a few different less talked about things. But there's tons of things you can do to improve your blood pressure. but these are the ones I spoke about today. And I've spoken about others many, many times before. If you're doing hibiscus tea, you want to do 1 cup with every meal. And I have had some patients who will actually, steep 3 bags of tea, hibiscus tea in the morning, and then they have it ready for them for the rest of the day. And that can have significant impact as well. So, we really are what we eat. So if you can get some of these foods in on a regular basis, it's only going to be helpful. Legumes are very helpful, but of course, removing some things like processed foods that are high in sodium, getting exercise, getting good sleep, all those things can make a big difference. But if it's a matter of just putting a few things in your body, these are some of the things I wanted to highlight. So again, really just want to say thank you for joining me today. And I think one other last thing I do want to mention is stress. I have seen stress cause a lot of high blood pressure issues. What we're doing is we are activating the sympathetic nervous system, which is that fight or flight type of system, and you get real anxious. And so if you're constantly under anxiety or stressing about things, that could be an issue. And I think that's where some of my other videos regarding mindfulness and really trying to become more present in your day-to-day experience can be very helpful. There was an interesting study showing that, okay, so let's think about this. So if we look at our lives, we spend 1/3 of our lives on average asleep. And then the other 2/3 were awake. But in those waking hours, we spend about 50% of our time in the future or in the past. So only 50% of our waking lives, so that's 50% of 2/3, which is 1/3. We literally spend 1/3 of our lives present in the current moment. And what is the quality of that if we're constantly thinking and worried about the past? Trying how it's dictated our current situation, or we're stuck in a pattern that we keep replaying because we've identified with that in the past, or we're worried about something in the future that we have no idea if it'll come to fruition or not. So just some food for thought. Thought I'd share that. I thought it was profound and sad at the same time, but doesn't mean that can't change. The one thing we can always count on, 2 things, is change, and that the other one is that the only time that we can do anything is in the present moment. That's it. Those are the 2 things. So hope that's helpful. Like always, I want to say thank you for joining me. And, head out to, if you want to, drmarbus.com. I'm seeing patients across the country. We have a wonderful workshop coming up this weekend with Dr. Rock Jatwani, all about breath and how that can help. And then the other thing is really thinking about if you'd like to join the Healing Kitchen. It's with myself and Brittany Giroudi, and we meet weekly live for an hour every Wednesday evening. She shares and cooks 2 recipes that you have access to. You have access to all the back videos. And then I answer medical questions for 30 minutes. And then you have free access to every workshop that I'm doing. And this month is going to be a plant-based masterclass from A to Z, everything you need to know and think about plant-based living. Whether you are new to the plant-based diet or whether you are long season veteran and you just want to learn to make sure that you're doing everything correctly, having cared for thousands of plant-based patients over the years, I feel like I got a pretty good handle on what's going on. And so, lots of good stuff. Plus, I've been plant-based myself for 12 years. So, raised a family like this. Lots of good stuff to come. I'm really excited about that workshop. That'll be at the end of the month. And then we always, like I said, offer that expert workshop, which is with Rock Jatwani today. So, so I am excited. And but if you have to be a member of the Healing Kitchen, if you want to do that for free, as a member, you get access to that for free, and you get access to all the past workshops I've done, which I've done on osteoporosis. I did on insulin resistance, weight loss, and what plant-based labs you should be getting, which will be part of this one as well. Definitely check out the plant-based masterclass. It's going to be a lot of fun. I'm really excited about it. Check out the Healing Kitchen. It's an amazing experience. It's so lovely, and Brittany's phenomenal, makes delicious recipes. and we're really trying to provide as much support as we can. We're actually going to be working and coming out with our first book, Brittany and I are, and so we'll be trying to do that on a regular basis. So we'll have her wonderful, delicious recipes, and I will have created the written component. And yeah, so we're really working hard, guys, and to provide some things that I'm always hearing from patients they need. So thanks for being here with me. And yeah, so feel free to check out drmars.com. That's click under Healing Kitchen. But always, I want to give gratitude for you being here. It really does mean a lot that you would spend some time with me. So I am sending you love, peace, joy, and abundance today. Truly heartfelt. And yeah, I just wish you the wonderful rest of your day. And we'll see you tomorrow.